The Roman Empire was a machine built for conquest, driven by an insatiable hunger for new territories and resources. From its earliest days, Rome's leaders believed that expansion was not just a strategy, but a necessity for survival and greatness. The empire expanded relentlessly, stretching its reach from the sun-baked sands of Egypt to the misty isles of Britain, absorbing diverse cultures and lands into its ever-growing domain. Its legions, unmatched in discipline and power, marched across continents. Their victories brought immense wealth, glory and prestige to Rome, reinforcing the belief that their destiny was to rule the known world and beyond. Expansion was essential to Rome's political and economic system. New provinces meant more resources, grain and slaves. Each conquest fed the city's growing appetite, supporting its vast population and ambitious projects. But the empire's borders were never fixed. Every frontier was seen as temporary, always waiting to be pushed further. Rome's leaders constantly looked beyond the horizon, seeking the next land to conquer. Yet some lands, like the dark, impenetrable forests of Germania and the mysterious, rugged north of Scandinavia, remained unconquered, resisting even Rome's might and ambition. These regions stood as natural barriers, challenging the empire's reach. Understanding why Scandinavia stayed beyond Rome's grasp reveals the true boundaries of the empire and offers insight into the limits of Roman ambition and power. To the Romans, Scandinavia, what we now know as Denmark, Norway and Sweden, was a mysterious and remote region, shrouded in myth and legend, lying at the very edge of the known world. The Romans saw it as a place of endless forests, icy winds and rugged coastlines, far removed from the bustling cities and warm climates of the Mediterranean. Roman knowledge of Scandinavia was extremely limited, pieced together from the stories of adventurous traders and the occasional written account. They called it Scanza, imagining it as a cold, forested land inhabited by strange peoples, and their maps were filled with speculation and uncertainty. During the Roman Iron Age, Scandinavia was not a unified nation, but a patchwork of scattered North Germanic tribes. There were no grand cities or centralized kingdoms, just small, fiercely independent chiefdoms, each ruled by its own chieftain and bound by local traditions. The people who lived here were skilled farmers, hunters and seafarers, adapting to a harsh and often unforgiving environment. Their daily lives revolved around the land and sea, demanding both resilience and a strong sense of community to survive. Archaeological discoveries reveal fortified hill forts, elaborate warrior graves, and even Roman luxury goods like glassware and jewelry. These finds show that while Scandinavia was never conquered by Rome, there was indirect contact through long-distance trade and cultural exchange. Yet to the Romans, Scandinavia remained a land of little interest. Poor, sparsely populated, and offering neither riches nor strategic advantage. Its remoteness and challenging terrain made it an unlikely target for conquest or colonization. The people of Scandinavia were tough, self-sufficient, and fiercely protective of their homeland, living in close-knit communities that valued independence and strength. For the mighty Roman Empire, Scandinavia was a wild frontier, an untamed land beyond the reach of Roman ambition, left to its own people and its own mysteries. The Roman legion was a marvel of ancient warfare, disciplined, heavily armed, and renowned for its organization and adaptability. Roman soldiers trained relentlessly, moving as a single unified force on the battlefield, which gave them a significant edge over many adversaries. Beyond fighting, they were brilliant at building roads, forts and cities, leaving behind a network of infrastructure that connected the vast empire and allowed for rapid movement of troops and supplies. However, their tactics and formations worked best in open, temperate landscapes, wide plains and gentle hills, rather than in dense forests or rugged mountainous terrain, where their advantages faded. The disaster at Teutoburg Forest, where 3 entire legions were wiped out by Germanic tribes, exposed the limits of Roman military power in hostile, unfamiliar terrain, and marked a turning point in Roman expansion. By the time of Hadrian's reign, Rome shifted its focus from aggressive expansion to defense, building massive walls and fortifications to secure and hold what it already possessed. Maintaining such vast borders required enormous resources and manpower, stretching the empire thin and making new military campaigns increasingly risky and unsustainable. Supplying armies deep in wild, roadless regions like Scandinavia would have been a logistical nightmare, with harsh weather and endless forests making movement and communication nearly impossible. The cost of such campaigns, both in money and lives, far outweighed any potential gain, forcing Roman leaders to reconsider the value of further conquests. In the end, Rome's strength, though legendary, had real and practical limits, boundaries shaped by geography, economics, and the realities of ancient warfare. Scandinavia's geography was a conqueror's nightmare. The North and Baltic seas were stormy and treacherous, far beyond the comfort zone of Roman ships. On land, endless forests, mountains, and bogs made movement slow and dangerous. The legion's tight formations and engineering skills were useless in such wild terrain. Winters were brutal. Deep snow, freezing winds, and months of darkness would devastate any southern army. There were no roads, no cities, and little to plunder. For Rome, the land itself was an impenetrable barrier. The cost and risk of invasion simply made no sense. Rome's encounters with Germanic tribes were bloody and humbling. These warriors, including those in Scandinavia, fought with ferocity, using their forests and bogs for ambushes and guerrilla tactics. An invasion would have united the tribes in fierce resistance, just as it had in the Teutoburg forest. Scandinavia's decentralized society, no cities, no single ruler, made conquest nearly impossible. Rome's usual strategy of co-opting local elites wouldn't work here. Subduing every small war band across vast wild territory would require endless resources and troops. The Romans learned that conquering such people was a thankless, costly task. The fierce independence of the tribes made Scandinavia a target best left alone. In the end, Rome never tried to conquer Scandinavia because the cost was enormous and the reward negligible. The empire sought wealth, resources, and strategic value. Scandinavia offered none. After the disaster in Germania, Rome accepted the Rhine and Danube as its northern limits. The region remained outside any emperor's plans for conquest. Roman interest was limited to trade, especially for prized amber, not war. The combination of geography, fierce resistance, and lack of value made Scandinavia a frontier not worth crossing. Rome's leaders recognized their limits and chose wisely. Scandinavia remained a land beyond the reach and the ambition of Rome.